Peace, love, liberty, radio.
And the walls come crashing down as the war at home reaches your town. You have no choice, it's safe and clean. We all submit to the war machine.
So, as I was just listening to the music play here right now, the music that's fading out right now, I was beginning to think of things that I could do for the new intro that I'm going to debut on episode 300, which will be coming up in a few weeks. We're on, I believe this is episode 280. Episode 280. So, or no, actually, this is 279. Episode 279. So, 21 more episodes. So, in about 6-7 weeks, I will be debuting a slightly modified version of the show because that will be episode 300. And as I said, as per my tradition of making slight modifications every 100 episodes or so, I will be making a slight modification to the music beds, or actually the intro music bed more so than any of the other music beds, but that intro will be slightly modified. There will also be a slight format change of the show, but it's really not going to be anything that you, as the listener, will notice too terribly much. That said, I just wanted to, put that out there of, stay tuned. In about 7 weeks, there will be some changes to the show. And I'm still going to continue doing the Ask Me Anything every Wednesday. And, of course, today is, that's right, it's Wednesday. So that means that I get to answer your questions. And I only have one question this week, but it's a very interesting question. And the question is, what are my thoughts on this? And it links over to an article from the the Times of Israel blog.timesofisrael.com. And it's a blog post from Dr. Marc Allan Felman. Marc Allan Felman is one of about a dozen people or so that is seeking the Libertarian Party's presidential nomination. And yes, I know that there have been a lot of news headlines recently saying Gary Johnson is the Libertarian Party nominee for the second time. Those stories are not true. Gary Johnson, of course, is a candidate for the Libertarian Party's nomination. But as of this moment in time in which I am speaking and until Memorial Day weekend of 2016, Gary Johnson is, just as I am, a candidate for the Libertarian Party's presidential nomination. And again, there's about a dozen candidates that are being recognized by the Libertarian Party's National Committee as being bona fide candidates. There are several others that have said that they're running, but there are several steps that they've not taken in order to wind up getting that bona fide recognition. And again, Dr. Feldman was one of 3 presidential candidates that addressed the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire convention this past weekend. I was among that group, as was Derek Michael Reed. So, that said, let me now get into the blog post here from Dr. Marc Allan Felman, titled, by the way, and I think really the question is, what are my thoughts on the story here, not necessarily every word verbatim of what was written or, every couple of sentences, but the headline here, Kanye West, be my running mate, 2016 Vice President of the United States. Article written by Dr. Marc Allan Felman. So I will now go through the article here from the Times of Israel. Dr. Feldman begins by writing, "Big money has corrupted politics." And I have to say that I agree to some extent, but I would also say that political corruption and political control of money has also corrupted politics, because once people have realized, or once people realize that legislators can regulate things and they can regulate what is being bought and sold, then the people who do the regulating and the legislating wind up being, you guessed it, bought and sold. So I kind of agree, but again, if you just get all of the money out of politics, then that's not going to solve the problems, because the problems of government regulating things and government controlling things will still exist. So it's sort of a two-step process, or two simultaneous steps that need to be taken at the same time. Both steps need to be taken in order to wind up uncorrupting politics. And I don't know that I necessarily think that politics needs to be uncorrupted, because I don't think that politics needs to exist. I think we need to completely get rid of it. But I digress and continue with the article. Dr. Feldman continues, or actually, let me just begin reading without comment for a while, and I will re-begin at the beginning. Dr. Feldman writes, "Big money has corrupted politics. The Democratic and Republican parties will each spend billions of dollars on the presidential campaign. Our two-party system is failing. The government of the United States no longer represents the people of the United States. Now is the time to take power back from the special interest. We can fight the influence of big money in politics the same way we fought the influence of racism. Stop voting for it. I," he writes, "have experience as a libertarian candidate. In 2010, and when I say I for the time being, because I am reading this article, I am reading the words of Dr. Feldman. Dr. Feldman writes, "In 2010, I received over 100,000 votes in the race for Ohio Attorney General. I have national political experience, serve on the Libertarian National Committee as the Region 3 representative for Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio. The Libertarian Party currently has ballot access in 30 states and is on track to get our candidate on the ballot in all 50 states in 2016. Allow me to pause here to say that this might not actually be a factual statement. Now, yes, the Libertarian Party National Committee is doing things. They've authorized funds to be spent on ballot access in the 20 states plus Washington, D.C., where the party does not currently have ballot access. However, because the Oregon affiliate of the party has essentially disaffiliated from the Libertarian Party National Committee, then while, yes, there will be a Libertarian on the ballot for president in Oregon, that person might not be the same person as the Libertarian Party presidential nominee that is on the other ballots. And also the work in Oklahoma might wind up not being sufficient, and there's a lawsuit in Maine because the Secretary of State's office in Maine basically screwed the Libertarian Party out of getting party status there in Maine. So yes, they're working on it, but it's probably not going to be achieved. I will continue with the article and my thoughts in a moment. Stay tuned.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
So before I jump back into the article from Dr. Feldman, where he begins explaining some things that he sees wrong with what's going on in politics today, and then he winds up basically doing the equivalent of one of these promposals online, I want to make sure that I tell you about Roberts and Roberts Brokerage. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your precious metals like gold and silver. They take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling your precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or you can visit them online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. Now back to the post here, or the article, the blog post from Times of Israel, written by Libertarian Party presidential hopeful Marc Allan Felman. And the title of this is Kanye West, Be My Running Mate, 2016 Vice President of the United States. And the reason that I'm reading this, if you missed the very beginning, is because today is the Ask Me Anything, and the question is, what are my thoughts on this? And again, I believe the intent of the question is, what are my thoughts on this particular candidate asking Kanye West to be his running mate? But I have taken some poetic license with the question, if you will, and I'm reading the entire article and interspersing my thoughts where I see fit to do so, because that's what I do, because it's my show. So he continues here after talking about his political experience, where he ran for Attorney General in Ohio in 2010. He's served on the Libertarian Party's National Committee, and he says the Libertarian Party is currently on the ballot in 30 states and on track to get the candidate on the ballot in all 50. And again, not entirely accurate, because there might be some sticking points with Oregon, Oklahoma, and possibly Maine. But nonetheless, he says, we have the political organization to get our candidates on the ballot, but we don't have the numbers to get our candidates elected. And that is sadly a completely true statement. Is, yes, the Libertarian Party is really good at jumping through the hoops to wind up getting on the ballot. But partly the reason more libertarians aren't getting elected is that libertarians are having to spend so much time, energy, and money getting on the ballot that they have very little of each time, energy, and money to actually wind up running a good campaign in order to get the message out to more voters. And then you also run into the wasted vote theory, to where people say, well, if I vote for this guy that I really like, then this other guy that I hate will wind up getting elected. So I'll vote for this guy that I don't like as much as the guy that I hate. So there are also problems with the voting process, in addition to the process of how people get on the ballot. And that partly explains why more libertarians don't get elected. And I just want to mention that I was at a couple of hearings yesterday in Concord That's the state capital for New Hampshire, where they were discussing approval voting. And approval voting would be wonderful. There are many organizations that use approval voting. The Freedom Book Club actually uses approval voting for selecting the books of the month. And if you've not yet voted for the February book of the month, I encourage you to do so by going to freedombook.club. The poll is on the right-hand side. After you vote, you do not have to send an email stating who you voted for. There are several people that have done that because you can suggest a book to be the book of the month. And what that is that's not a suggestion of what book do you want to be the book of the month for next month. That's suggest a book that you would like to be considered in the future, not what book that's currently up for the book of the month do you want to see be the book of the month. So that's basically a waste of energy, but I digress. So anyway, I was in Concord yesterday testifying on approval voting. And one of the things that I intentionally did not testify on because I don't want them to kill the bill is that if New Hampshire had approval voting, the Libertarian Party would most likely wind up having ballot access because people would not buy into that wasted vote. They would actually, well, I like the Libertarian, so I'll vote for him, and I like this other candidate, so I'll vote for him, and my vote's not wasted by voting for the Libertarian. That would then give the Libertarians more votes, which would hopefully wind up putting them over the 4% threshold for either a governor or a U.S. Senate race, thus giving the party ballot access. So I did not mention that because I don't want the Republicans voting against approval voting. But I digress, and I continue with the article here from Dr. Feldman. He writes, in 2012, Barack Obama won with 66 million votes. Mitt Romney received 61 million votes. Former Governor Gary Johnson, the Libertarian Party's nominee, got 1 million. But there were 100 million Americans who could have voted but did not. These are the people I want to represent, the 100 million non-voters. To do that, I have to convince them that I am authentic. I can do that. I have to convince them that I am different from the other politicians. I can do that, too, through my small donation campaign. I accept campaign contributions, but only from individuals, not from political action committees, and with a maximum total of $5 per person. This is why my campaign is titled Votes Not for Sale. A candidate always represents his largest contributors. I want to represent people who can only afford to donate up to $5. He then continues, and I will not express an opinion on the $5 campaign limit, nor the claims of being able to wind up getting campaign contributions from the 100 million non-voters. But he continues. He says the biggest obstacle is to convince the 100 million non-voters that they are worth representing. These 100 million are mostly people who struggle in life. They are people who know that poverty, discrimination, and devaluation. They did not get far in school. They don't have a good, steady job. They know what it's like to have to borrow money from family and friends just to pay their bills. My mission is to convince the 100 million non-voters to believe in themselves, to stand up for themselves, to let me represent them, to use the power that is in their votes and not waste it in frustration. I don't think I can do that alone. I can make a logical argument that comes from my brain, but I need to inspire their hearts. To do that, he says, I have to speak the language of their heart. That is the skill of the artist. I need to find someone with that skill who is serious about his art. That is what I say, or rather that is what I saw when I heard your speech, Kanye West. And now we get into the fun part. And oh boy, is it fun. Stay tuned.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerary supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's FANS.fppradio.com.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Fiend Phone. I'm using Fiend Phone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Fiend Phone.
Fiend Phone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Fiend Phone right now at fiendphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Fiend Phone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to fiendphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's fiendphone.com. FEENPHONE.com. Foxtrot, Echo, Echo, November, phone.com.
Fiend Phone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
So before we get into the fun part of the article, I want to make sure that I ask you this one important question. If you're so fed up with the government running every aspect of your life, but you are not listening to the Lava Flow podcast yet, what's wrong with you? No, seriously. What is wrong with you? It comes out once every 2 weeks. It's not a long commitment. It's like a half-hour show. You can listen to it on, like a fast setting on your computer, on your cell phone if you use a podcatcher. And then it's, not even a half an hour. It's like 20 minutes, tops. If you're not spending 20 minutes listening to this, what is wrong with you? I encourage you to go right now to thelavaflow.com/listen. The Lava Flow podcast, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Subscribe today with any podcatcher at thelavaflow.com/listen. Or just go back to sucking up to the government. The Lava Flow podcast, striking the root every episode. So, we're now at the part of the article where Dr. Marc Allan Felman says that he was inspired by Kanye West and that he believes Kanye West has the skill as an artist to reach out to the 100 million non-voters from the last presidential election. He then quotes something that Kanye said when Kanye announced that he was running for president in 2020. Dr. Felman then continues. He says, "Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe your speech was just part of the show. Maybe it was a joke. If it was, then I am sorry that I fell for you. But if it was not, if you were for real, then let's do this. For real. If you are serious that you want to run for president in 2020, there can be no better preparation than to run for vice president in 2016. Dr. Felman continues, "My campaign is primarily through social media, through the internet, and through word-of-mouth grassroots networking. I don't want your money. I don't want your time. What I need is your voice. This will not be easy for us. Many in the Libertarian Party won't like it. Many in the Democratic and Republican parties won't like it either. Nike won't like it. I don't know what they will do to, or rather, I don't know what they will try to do to us, but that doesn't matter. It's not about us. It's about ideas, and it's about believing in the truth." Dr. Felman concludes, "I need a running mate with the power to communicate that message of self-esteem, that message of empowerment, not just for certain people with a certain amount of money, but for everybody. Be my running mate, and we can win the Libertarian nomination, and we will be on the ballot in all 50 states. Kanye West, will you step up? If your grandfather were here right now, would he let you back down?" So, let me give you my thoughts on Dr. Felman asking Kanye West to be his running mate. And again, I mentioned that this was sort of a promposal sort of thing. And promposal, if you're not familiar with that, is where somebody will wind up making a YouTube video asking someone to go to prom with them. Will you go to the prom with me? And a lot of times it's somebody, doing this for their girlfriend or someone that they have an interest in that goes to their school, but they're not necessarily dating, but they know the person, and they just, want to show off a little bit. But then there are the people that wind up doing these promposals to a celebrity of, Katy Perry, I really like you. I love all of your music and blah, blah, blah. Will you go to prom with me? This is the presidential equivalent of a promposal. Asking someone that you have absolutely no contact with at all, and someone that you have absolutely no way of knowing if they are even interested, and someone that you have no clue of knowing if they even hold a similar belief as you, and someone that will probably wind up being rejected by the political party. And I realize that promposals don't have political parties, but they might have school policies that says that you've got to be a student to attend the prom. So it's a very good equivalent here. Dr. Feldman put out a promposal to Kanye West. And there's no clue if anybody from Kanye's entourage or any of Kanye's people, if you will, have seen this. No idea if they've responded. I have not seen any response. Now, someone did ask me if this was all a joke. And I said, well, based on things that Dr. Feldman said at the LPNH convention over the weekend, I don't think it's a joke. I think he is very serious. And, well, there's a thread on the Independent Political Report where Dr. Feldman says that he is 100% serious. And let me read you but one of his comments. He says, my offer is 100% serious. I had been trying to send a message privately through various channels without success. By using Facebook and my blog, I was able to get the word out enough to get noticed by some diehard fans who were very impressed that I would participate on their forum, and there's a good chance that my message will get through. If you check Twitter and Google, you will see that I barely generated a ripple of mainstream publicity, which is perfect when I am trying to set up first contact. To those who cannot get their head around my campaign strategy, it is enough to say that I want to stay libertarian and I want a chance to win, to promote the libertarianism and the Libertarian Party. I am not a you should do it this way libertarian. I am a this is the way I do it libertarian. Your mileage may vary. And I do respect one thing from Marc. Well, there are several things, but of the most recent statement that I read, there's one thing that I really respect about Marc is he's coming off as genuine. I don't necessarily agree with his tactics here, but I will agree that he says I'm not a you should do it this way libertarian. I'm a this is the way I do it libertarian. And I respect that. Again, I don't necessarily respect the way he's doing it, but I do respect the fact that he's willing to say, I'm not going to tell other people how they should be a libertarian. And I say that I respect that partly because I view his way of being a libertarian, quite frankly, to be wrong in many ways. So I'm glad he's not trying to force his view of libertarianism on others. However, I do think that he would not be a good nominee for the party. And there are several people that are posting on the Independent Political Report saying that their chances of voting for Feldman dropped from 0 to no way in blank blank. A couple other people said that the chances went from slim to none. And I think that he has really hurt himself within the Libertarian Party. So I hope I answered the question about what I think of this, and I will post the links in the show notes. And don't forget, every Wednesday, I answer your questions. Send those over AMA@FPPradio.com.